A young man in St. Petersburg picks up an axe, commits a brutal murder, and walks away, believing he has just proved something about himself. He is wrong, and what he discovers instead will haunt you long after you put this book down. Most people think Crime and Punishment is a story about guilt. It is not. It is a story about something far more terrifying, something Dostoevsky understood about human nature that we are still catching up to over 150 years later. Today, I am going to show you 3 things hidden inside this novel that almost nobody talks about. And the third one may change how you think about every moment of resistance you have ever felt. Let's start with the murder itself. The conventional reading is that Raskolnikov kills the old pawnbroker because he is desperate and poor. And yes, poverty is part of the picture. But if you read carefully, you discover something far more disturbing. Before the murder, Raskolnikov has already developed what he calls his theory of extraordinary people. He believes that certain individuals, like Napoleon, exist above ordinary moral law. They have the right to transgress, to step over, if their vision demands it. So when Raskolnikov raises the axe, he is not really trying to solve his financial problems. He is conducting an experiment on himself. He is asking, am I one of these extraordinary people? Can I do this terrible thing and feel nothing afterward? This is what makes the novel so psychologically devastating. The answer comes immediately, and it is merciless. He cannot bear it. He is shattered not by the law, not by the investigation, but by the discovery that he is, in his own framework, ordinary. The murder does not prove he is Napoleon. It proves he is not. Dostoevsky is showing us something profound about the nature of ideology. An idea that seems powerful and coherent in the abstract can be annihilated by a single encounter with reality. The second insight concerns Sonya Marmeladova, and it is one of the most radical things Dostoevsky ever wrote, though it is rarely discussed this way. Sonya is often reduced to a symbol. She represents Christian redemption, suffering love, the pure heart. But this misses what she actually does in the novel, which is far more interesting than any symbol. When Raskolnikov confesses his crime to Sonya, she does not argue with him. She does not try to refute his Napoleon theory. She does not lecture him about morality. She simply reads to him from the Gospel of Lazarus, the story of a dead man brought back to life, and she weeps. Throughout the novel, Sonya's method is consistent. She does not debate. She does not persuade. She simply refuses to stop existing. She remains present, suffering, loving, and utterly unwilling to despair, even though her own life is a catastrophe. And here is the insight that Dostoevsky is offering. Some truths cannot be argued. They can only be witnessed. Raskolnikov's intellectual framework is airtight from the inside. No logical argument can touch it. But Sonya's existence is the counter-argument. Not her words, her existence. This is a radically different theory of how people change, not through debate, not through evidence, but through encounter with a person who embodies something that theory cannot explain. The third insight concerns the novel's epilogue, and it may be the most controversial. After Raskolnikov is sentenced to Siberia, Sonya follows him, and in the final pages, something shifts. Raskolnikov, who has remained defiant and unrepentant throughout his imprisonment, suddenly falls at Sonya's feet and weeps. The novel tells us that a new story is beginning, a story of gradual renewal and transformation. Now, many readers and critics have complained that this ending feels rushed. It feels unearned. After 500 pages of psychological torment, the conversion happens in 2 paragraphs. It does not seem convincing, but I believe This is entirely deliberate. Dostoevsky is not showing us a completed transformation. He is showing us the first crack. Raskolnikov does not understand why he is weeping. He has not suddenly accepted God or rejected his theory. Something has simply broken open inside him that he cannot explain. And this is Dostoevsky's deepest insight into human nature. Genuine change does not begin with understanding. It begins before understanding. It starts in the body, in the tears, in the collapse of resistance, long before the mind catches up. The epilogue is not a failure of craft. It is a precise depiction of what the first moment of real change actually looks like: confusing, inarticulate, and completely beyond the person's own comprehension. So there you have it. 3 ideas from Crime and Punishment that deserve far more attention. First, that the murder is not about poverty, but about a terrifying experiment in self-knowledge. Second, that Sonya defeats Raskolnikov's philosophy not through argument, but through the sheer fact of her existence. And third, that the ending is deliberately incomplete, because Dostoevsky knew that real transformation begins before we understand it. If you have not read Crime and Punishment, or if it has been a while, I hope this gives you reason to pick it up again. It is a novel that sees further into the human soul than almost anything else ever written. Thank you for watching.